Yeah, you were good. Morning, everybody. My name is Ciaran, Brennan. I'm the co-founder and CEO at LiveCosts.com. I was actually on the way in thinking I've done one of these a couple of years back. It was pre-COVID when we were building this product. And I remember at the time saying we're going to go out there and change the game for small to medium-sized construction companies. And we're getting there. We're getting there. I can report now coming back, and thanks for the invite, Alan, a few years on, that we are changing the game. So a bit about LiveCosts and what we do. We're a finance tool. Essentially, my background is construction. Only know construction. Started out as a labourer on a building site. Didn't like that too much. Decided that these guys on the trades looked like they have a bit of a handier number. Decided to go and get a carpentry trade. That wasn't much fun either. Then I started to travel with the trade, which where I feel that I got the most experience in terms of building a career. So eventually started running some projects internationally over in Australia, and I just got fascinated by the business side of construction, and I started to understand I think my passion is actually outside of running these projects. And I suppose that's easy because I'm running this job for this company. Sure, why don't I just do this for myself? And I very quickly learned there's a big difference between running a business and running a construction project. A couple of failed businesses, and then we got one right. And the one we got right was down to understanding process, technology, building some technology for our own company. And we quickly realised that small companies have a problem. And that problem is that they don't have sight over day-to-day financials. And if you're a small to medium-sized construction company, we eventually come up with this type of concept whereby if I'm in a management position and I'm leaning into the project budget and I want to get information such as what's a good project, what's a bad project, where do we win money, where do we lose money, whereas the day-to-day, the nitty-gritties, they're using these products here, Sage, QuickBooks, Xero, because it's really all they can afford. But the reality is the day-to-day operations are still being done in spreadsheets. They're now a data collection company. They collect different information from the project, different information from site, and the reality is now that the QSs that they've employed that are costing quite a lot of money are data collectors and data inputters into spreadsheets. And that is not the most efficient use of their time. So we've got CFOs in companies that are looking at process, are looking at building smart process and understanding. And the reality is management don't know what's going on a day-to-day basis. And that's the simple facts of this. So we seen that problem and we said, we like it. It's a problem that we think we can go after. And we realised that Sage, QuickBooks and Xero have a massive hold of the market. And hold of the market means that construction companies globally rely on these products on a day-to-day basis. And we can plug into those. It was essentially our strategy from day one, and we did. We're now a Xero partner, a Sage partner, and a QuickBooks partner, and they drive LiveCosts into the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. And we do that all from Blanchardstown. The other issue is that a lot of companies, when they come to us, are using those products. So they would essentially find us on one of these marketplaces and they would say to us, you know, I use Xero today for my accounts product. I love it. It's a great bookkeeping tool. But you know what? Most of the guys are in silos and spreadsheets because I can't give them access to Xero, right? So Xero is the financial tool that they've selected. But you might have people in your company that have financial responsibility onto a project that are not necessarily the same people you want to have in around your account system. And therefore you're instantly creating a silo. And these companies don't have a solution to this. So what LiveCosts allows them to do is to separate the project from the main accounts package. If you can't afford a construction ERP, your option is accounts package and spreadsheet. And we're bringing an alternative to that, whereby if you want to use one of those very popular accounting tools, we'll plug in alongside you. We'll separate the project from the account system, and that means everyone has connectivity around the project. So we can all see exactly what's happening on a day-to-day basis, and we can use a smart API to integrate that straight across into the account system. So everybody can see what's going on, and we can have access, like what John said, access to real-time information to what's happening on that project. We've developed a couple of smart pieces of tech in there as well. We've used likes of machine learning. I'll show an example of that. Live demos can be dodgy, but we'll give it a go. So the concept is essentially this. When a company comes to us, the vast majority of the time they have an estimating system in place. If they didn't have one of those, they probably wouldn't be in business very long, right? They can't estimate and can't deliver an estimate. So that system, the estimating side of the business, it's usually okay, it's usually solid. And they've gone and selected a QuickBooks, Sage or a Xero, so they're happy enough with that product too. It's the middle piece. It's the connection between what I say is we put an estimate together, we're future tense. This is what we think is going to happen on the project. This is what we're estimating is going to happen on the project. The reality is in the account system, they're nearly holding a post-mortem at that stage. This is what's happened. But where's the middle piece? What's happening on that project on a day-to-day basis? And that's the gap we fill. So we take the estimate, we feed that into LiveCosts, which is now a project. So we have pre-contract, now we have actual contract, now it's gone live. Now we collect data, right? So we simply now take away a lot of manual processes. And the first data point that we'd look for is getting a handle over these purchase orders. So we take them out of the account system, we take them out of spreadsheets. And the reality is a lot of companies today are still using paper-based PO books. Believe it or believe it not. They've got a guy on site who's writing down on a day-to-day basis what he's purchasing, and that information now is coming back. When it comes back, who knows, right? The other issue then is that as that's happening on site, we don't have any site over committed cost until we get that information out of that PO book. So we essentially give them a simple app that sits on their phone, and we digitize the PO book. And that was a challenge, because we realised very quickly that maybe some of the people on site like writing stuff in a PO book, and now they have to switch into app. So we gave this my dad test, which was the test. My dad can barely use WhatsApp, but if you could use a LiveCosts app, well then we have a chance of telling these guys and getting these guys to basically digitise. And we did. So we digitised the purchase order, taken it out of the PO book, and it means that any time a commitment is made on a project, we can integrate that straight back to a dashboard and we can keep control over that. The other big issue with the accounting software as being the main account system is they don't look at the PODs on these as well, right? So an account purchase order is quite, you think of Xero, you think of QuickBooks, you think of Sage. They're working across multiple industries, right? So how could they build a construction purchase order, which, you think about concrete as a great example. I think, John, you mentioned concrete. Like, the concrete order could change based on the weather this morning, right? So how a construction purchase order is different. A construction purchase order has multiple deliveries against it, has multiple invoices against it. It's a different type of system that we operate in. So we take the purchase order away from the account system and we build it for construction. We can then manage the PODs, right? So if you're doing a paper-based PO book, which a lot of companies are still using, or the PO has been generated out of the Excel spreadsheet, no one's tracking the deliveries, and it means invoices are being paid on the blind. And that's just the fact. I sat there and looked at the data this morning. On LiveCosts this morning, there's over billions worth of value of projects. And we know for a fact that a lot of them are being ran blind, right, before they come to LiveCosts. So they're looking at, they don't have the PO, they don't have the delivery, the invoice are coming pouring in, they just don't have that information in hand, but yet we're under pressure to pay them suppliers, and we're paying them on the blind. The other issue is that when we look at invoicing as a process, we had the luxury, and I do call it a luxury, of being invested in by the NDRC that are just across the road here. And part of our early process, when we come from construction into technology, was you just want to get out there and get it done, right? That's sort of in your nature. Let's just get this thing up and running. Let's get it out the door. And they made us stop, and they made us think, and they made us, before we went crazy about trying to make sales or build product even, they said, listen, go and speak to 100 customers, potential customers. And that's going to take you 8 weeks. And we thought this was crazy time. Like, we're going to lose 8 weeks worth of time here. Like, this is, surely we can get to 50 in a week maybe. Can we do that? No, you need to take 8 weeks. And that process I look back on now was one of the best learnings we ever had. We sat in front of construction companies and just observed what's going on here. And we seen one of the biggest problems that we solved today, which was an invoice coming into a company, and it would come to the accounts department, and that would be physically printed off. And that invoice would pass around the office into trays and staples, and we couldn't believe it. And we said, wow, what an opportunity this is, because we're going to digitise that, and we're going to fix that. And if we can do that, we can show a clear ROI to a company instantly with a product. So if we could show them that manual process that's taken a lot of time, it's inaccurate, they know they're paying stuff in the blind, they know money's being leaked from that bad process. If we can show them a better way of doing that, well, then we've got an instant ROI. We can sell this product very, very quickly. And we do that. Essentially, when a company comes to us today, we can show them the invoice process. And essentially what it looks like, and I'm going to chance this, this might go horribly wrong, but this is LiveCosts, right? And LiveCosts is about real-time financials. And it's real-time financials around only the project, right? So they already have P&Ls in Xero, QuickBooks, or Sage. They have all that. VAT returns, all that sort of stuff. We need that, right? We're never going to replace that. But what they don't have in the accounts package is this, right? Which is the project information, right? So in LiveCosts, we basically build them dashboards. The dashboards will tell them exactly what's happening across the company, portioning activity, budget alerts, all the stuff you'd expect to see. And then they can sort of hone into that data by looking at each individual project. So I built this little project here this morning called the CitA development. We work with a lot of housing developments. And in that project, they'll have the ability to sort of create project level and then drop into phase level, so they can say, listen, we're going to just carve out the first 4 units here, whatever the case might be, or they can go with the cost code level as well. So the ability of tracking the purchase order means that every time a commitment is made on that project, what we do is we feed that data back to the dashboard and we give it a simple color coding. So when you talk about UI UX, we sat with a couple of really smart UI UX designers who are brilliant in what they do, and they designed the early stages of this product, and we didn't like it. Myself and my brother Niall, who was also from a construction background, we never liked it. We never thought it was simple enough. We always thought about our user because we were the user, right? So how can we make this so simple for people to understand? And we use a traffic light system across the product. Reds aren't good. It didn't take us too long to come up with this, right? Reds aren't good, right? So you need to take action on anything that's red in the platform. Greens are good, right? They're passing on through accounts from a financial perspective, and your ambers are what's being committed. Very, very simple concept, and our customers love it, right? So anytime a commitment is made on a project, whether that's in the field, whether that's happening from our buyer, we've got those amber costs appearing on the dashboard, and we can just hover over them. We can see exactly what's committed on the project we don't yet have invoices for. It's really, really as simple as that. And the invoice that comes in then, we have a way of tracking the deliveries in here. So if we have multiple deliveries coming in, we want to do a call-off situation, it's all managing that delivery section. And then we automate the invoice process. So we've looked at other industries, and we've said, other industries are smart. Why are they smart? Because they use technology and they embrace technology. And we looked at accounts payable as a process across multiple industries when we had time to study this. And we said, like, why are construction not using three-way match? Like, what's going on here? It's so manual. Again, I go back to the manual process. The invoice gets printed out. You know, John, have we got a PO against this? Yeah. There's your PO. Great, thanks very much. You know, where's the delivery information of this? You're gonna have to contact Eamon on site. I think Eamon has that information. Eamon, if you've got, I'll send it to you on WhatsApp. Cool, right? No worries. Like, broken, right? Absolute broken process. What LiveCosts will do is allows you to basically drop the invoice in. We've looked at other industries that are using this technology and said, why don't we just use that for construction? So this is not our concept. This is what's being used across multiple industries. And when we show this to our customers, they're like, yeah, that makes much more sense to us, right? So what happens is you've got an inbox here, and you literally just drop your invoice into it. Simple as that. You can drop them in, email them in. Some of our customers like give the email address to like Chadwick's and stuff like that and say, just send a copy to LiveCosts. And what happens is LiveCosts basically takes a scan of the document. So you can take one here. Do I have one here? Yeah, I've got a little receipt here. So this can be receipts as well. So you just scan it in, and the reality of the situation is, one, we're going to have a PO against this, which is what we want because that's a good process. And the reality is that we're going to have people going out buying stuff without POs, and we don't want it, but it happens, right? So what happens in that situation is that when LiveCosts sucks in the invoice, it'll basically give you everything you need to know about that particular document on a single screen, right? So know around the office information. This is everything we need to know about this document. And the result of that is we can make quick and, more importantly, accurate decisions whether these costs should be approved and sent to accounts or not. So the accuracy comes in giving them all the information in one place. So invoice comes in, they open up their invoice, they can see their invoice, they can reference back to their invoice, whatever they need to do, drag it around. Now we're going to tell you everything you need to know about this. There's your purchasing order information, this is who raised it, there's the value, there's the reconciliation, there's the delivery information coming in from site, this is who took the delivery in, this is what was ordered, this is what was being delivered, this is the project we're going to project cost this against, because we can read the PO number and take the cost and apply it to that, so no one has to do that job. Now we get interesting. When we look at processes and we look at accounts payable process, the one piece that we've seen across multiple industries was they're not tracking the real data, the materials. And we said we should do that, right? So what we do in that case is we pull the line items off the documents. And what that does is it starts to open up procurement and insights and analysis to product codes that are today being done manually. So the best use case I can give for this is we work with a lot of developers. They might go to Chadwick's, Ciaran, whoever the case might be, and agree a set of rates. Brilliant, done a great job. And my experience with materials databases is this: very easy to get a price and put it into a database, a spreadsheet, and we build it. Very difficult to maintain. Very difficult to maintain because you've got fluctuation on a daily basis happening with material costs. So how as a company are we going to manage that? The absolute source of truth on this is the invoice. No one can argue with it. That's what we pay. Nobody can argue what's coming in on an invoice and the product code and it's being processed. That's what we pay. So when we looked at this, we done a proof of concept early with Hildy, who put their hand up and are a great company to work with. And we said, what does the future look like? The future looks like being able to log into a catalogue like this that's custom built to every company. And we opened up simply just a button into the suppliers that allowed you to say your local store is Sandybound And this is your product code that's available in Sandymount, and we could raise the purchase order off the project straight from the Hilti store. And that's the future, but the reality is none of the suppliers are ready to play that game. So even if we played the API into, let's say the Grafton Group, for example, you're limiting what a company can do, right? So they'll have slick procurement processes with one supplier, but then they'll build 15 houses in Tullamore and they can't use that technology because they found a really great supplier locally. So it doesn't really work. But what one source of truth works is the invoice. Everybody invoices and everybody sends in a PDF document. So we went all in on the invoice and we said that's where we'll get our data from. So when the invoice drops into LiveCosts, you basically can suck up all the accounts payable pieces like the automated three-way match, which is the PO delivery. We can do the automated job costing, but this is where we can start to get interesting. So it'll pull the line items off the document as well, and then it does an instant analysis on the line item to tell you whether you've been overpaid. Companies just love it because we can show them instantly. Now you're going to be in control over when you get an overcharge. So again, let's not overthink this. Reds aren't good, greens are good. Greens down, reds up. And all we have to do there is then we can analyse these products and say, well, this timber this is a graph showing me what I paid for that length of timber over time. This is what I paid for that length of timber in the last 4 projects. And I'm getting that information straight off the invoice. So when we look at that process and we measure it against the old printing, about an 80% reduction of time just on that screen. Just there, about an 80%. We've measured that process of getting an invoice through its approval process here versus the old way, and we've got an 80% reduction in time. And then we can get smarter with the tech, so we can just approve and sync straight into the account software. So if I'm a buyer, if I'm in a procurement position, if I'm a contracts manager, if I'm a project manager, and it's my job to basically get these things to approval, I don't need to be connected to the account system anymore. Let the company deal with that. I'll sit in LiveCosts, I'll get all my approvals right, they're accurate, they're saving me time, they're collecting data, I can see where I've been overcharged, and with one click of the button then I can sync that information straight across into the accounts system. The other stuff that we'll do in LiveCosts as well is obviously we're collecting that data, and that means that the catalogue we have in LiveCosts is getting smarter every day, right? So the more data we pump in through invoices, the smarter and smarter that database gets. We'll also track the direct labour through just digitising the timesheets. So essentially just again through the same app, we'll just take the timesheet, spin that information back to a dashboard so we can see the real impact of labour is having on the projects on a day-to-day basis. Subcontract agreements, whether they're on schedule or rates, fixed price contracts, whatever the case might be, that can be managed in LiveCosts as well. And the reality is then that we'll give them access to real-time reporting, right? So not going to the QS and saying we need to understand where we are in this project and getting that information a week and 2 weeks again. We're into post-mortem stuff at that stage. We're getting that information in real time, and we can just cut dashboards together and give people access to dashboards. And then on the income side of things, because we sync into the account software, you're going to have someone in accounts that's raising invoices out to the client. So what we do is we just basically, through the API, then we have that feeding back to LiveCosts. And then on my dashboard, I get to be basically the best of both worlds here. So you can sort of see on the income line, I'm starting to see what I've been billed and paid. And because systems like Xero, QuickBooks have integrations directly to the bank, we can feed that back to the dashboard then, right? So that means that if we go in and get paid against that project, so if someone actually pays us 100 grand, let's say, off that project, it's feeding through the account software back into LiveCosts. So on my accounts line, I'm seeing what's being billed and paid, what's being billed and unpaid, what have I got left to go and deliver this project. From my cost point of view, I've got what have I spent on this project, physically spent, that's gone into the account software, what have I committed to spend, and what have I got left to deliver that project. Then I'm getting my breakdown at phase level, and when I drill into phase level, I can start to get a breakdown by just creating what we call these tags. So I want to see the impact of materials on that project so far. Just press a button, there we go, we've got a materials report instantly. I can also then see what I've been invoiced for, what's on hold, what's on part delivery, and all that data is available to me just there. And that's us in a nutshell. Thanks very much.
Thank you.